about your favorite public speaking topic. So I'm on pins and needles to find out what that is.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate being
Yeah,
here.
you're so welcome. So I just want to share with people who might be watching right now why we're here. So you're a part of my improv speakers group, which is Confidently Speaking. And I do challenges every month. And occasionally a month will pop up and I'll say, hey, who's going to get on a live with me so that you can use your voice in that way? Because we are being called to show up as speakers on multiple platforms, not just stages, but here on LinkedIn Lives, Instagram Lives, YouTube, TikToks, all the talks, all the things, podcasts, networking, meeting with people one-on-one. Oh boy, audio rooms, you name it, we're being called to speak. So tell me a little bit about, we have a guest here too. Hello, there's somebody else in the room. Interesting.
Okay. Well, it is Halloween time.
Oh, it's Mike, who's another speaker. Hi. Let's just go ahead and we're going to improvise. Is that okay, Mark?
That's fine. That's fine.
And then Mark, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, mine is Mark James. My business is Performance Advisors Group, and I am a public speaker. It's how I sort of get the word out of myself, and I enjoy sharing what I've learned throughout my career. And in fact, to your point, Meredith, a minute ago, I added up all the different speaking things I've done this year the other day, and for this year so far and to the end of the year, I'm scheduled to do about 15 total.
Amazing.
Plus about 4 or 5 podcasts. So it's been a good year for me to work on my platform skills.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And you have been speaking a lot. So I think I just figured out while you were talking, Mark, what the issue is here. Mike, I'm happy to have you. And I see Lisa just popped into the Restream room. So this is, and I apologize for any confusion. So this is a LinkedIn Live that I do with my Confidently Speaking members. And it seems that in the invite, you all got the Restream invite instead of the invite for the LinkedIn. Is that correct?
I got it on LinkedIn, so I don't know. I just clicked and here I am. You get to see my orange curtain behind. I usually have this awesome Zoom background. It's professionally done, and now you can see my Homer Simpson poster behind me saying, "Woo-hoo."
Oh my goodness. Well, yes. Yeah,
you okay. If you want, but I'm having a great time.
I'm glad. This is one of those things that I never thought would happen, and here we are. And Lisa, I'm so glad you're here too. But so here's what I'm gonna do. In
fun while it lasted. Great to meet you,
tradition of improv and pivoting, I'm gonna say, Mike, you can. No, please, you don't need to be camera ready, Lisa. It's okay. There was a miscommunication about what was happening here. And I think that some wires got crossed somewhere with someone and we're all good. But Mike, if you want to hang out and stay here and chat with us a little bit, please feel free to do so. Or if you just want to go to LinkedIn and watch it live, please feel free to do so.
That's boring.
That's boring.
That's boring.
So, Mark, meet Mike. Mike, meet Mark.
Good to meet you, man.
You too, Mike. I'm glad we got you VIP backstage passes here. So
hey, sweet. Yeah, same here. You backstage pass to my spare bedroom. Doesn't even have a closet.
Oh my God, this is brilliant. If everyone's watching and you have questions for us right now, please feel free to put those in the chat. It could be pretty much about anything at this point. Mike, so it's your lucky day, Mark, because Mike is also a public speaking coach.
Oh, great.
So
can't have enough of them.
We don't have enough.
Meredith and I had a great talk last week, and it was great. We always said, my competition, the only people who know what I do.
I love it.
That's good.
Yes, it's true. So I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to ask, and hopefully the two of you will have some fun with this. I'm going to ask the two of you to carry on a conversation for a little bit about public speaking. And Mike, I want you to ask Mark what his favorite public speaking topic is, because I am dying to know. And I'm going to be listening. Yeah, I'm going to be listening, but I'm going to take myself off camera for a second, and I'm going to try to figure out how to troubleshoot so that
Please don't leave us here. You're going to leave
This is
me hosting
awesome.
a meeting, Meredith. I knew you'd put me up to something. It's Halloween.
Yeah, it's the Halloween gremlins have gotten into your computer.
I think so. Something happened. Okay. I will be right back. You two carry on, get to know each other, have a great conversation, make sure to add value for our audience. Here we go.
Got
We
it.
will do
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
Mark, I'm willing to bet that you and I don't always speak on the same topics. So why don't you tell me about performance? I'm willing to guess with Performance Advisors Group that there's something to do with an office culture or a corporate setting. Take it away.
Yeah, it's a pretty good guess. And actually it is the inspiration for the talk came based on some reading that I was doing in the area of physics of all things. And I'm not a physics person. I took two semesters of astronomy in college, and that was as close to physics as I got. But I was reading and I was following a little bit about Albert Einstein. And I came across 3 rules of work that are attributed to how Einstein did his thinking and his work. And as I saw these 3 rules, I immediately had this theta wave, and I realized that, you know what, these rules can apply not just to physics and the workings of the universe and everything that Einstein did, but also to how we operate or improve the performance of a business. So I thought a little bit more about it. I did some more research, and I decided to put together a talk that I do to trade groups, associations, really any interested audience on how to apply these 3 rules of work that were inspired by how Einstein did his thinking, his work, and how you can use them to improve a business. So
when I think of physics and I think of 3 laws, I think of Isaac Newton. How are they similar at all? Is it how beings interact with each other? Without giving away the whole talk, because I'm sure it comes in a
no. If I told you everything, I'd have to kill you. So
you find me first.
I could find you, and it's no problem. So actually, they're not laws. They're actually rules of work that they're not Einstein's words. They're actually rules that were attributed to how he did his thinking and his work, not the rules of the universe or physics, by another physicist by the name of John Wheeler in a 1979 article in Newsweek. And he talked about these 3 rules of work that he observed to help explain how Einstein did his thinking. And what a lot of people don't realize is that Einstein, we tend to think of Einstein as a genius, and he was. And he somehow was some wizard when it came to math. But actually, fancy math was not a thing for Einstein. In fact, his theory of relativity in 1905, you can follow the math if you have a high school textbook in algebra. That's as far as he went with the math. He was all about thinking things up in his head, seeing things as a thought experiment, and identifying the underlying principles or laws of physics in the universe with simple clarity. And that's how he did his thinking. So his whole world was thought experiments. And so these 3 rules of work describe how he did that for all the things that he came up with. So I just took these 3 rules and I said, you know what, the more I thought about them and the more I researched and washed them up against what businesses struggle with all the time, I said, yeah. These guys can help.
Conventional thinking, right? So Einstein challenged conventional wisdom more than having his own wisdom. So how does that resonate with businesses where you get more and more automation, more and more structure, and more nameless, faceless entities telling you this is how you do business? You don't even have any thinking to challenge anymore because they're not thinking. Do you run into that when you give that talk?
Yeah. Generally, one of the first things that people resonate with, I use a couple of analogies to explain what typically tends to happen in business as we go through the day and we operate our businesses or do what we do. Things can become cluttered or can become overly complex. The analogy I use is that think about your computer. Over time, cookies and other things build up in your computer and they can affect the performance of the computer. The same thing can happen to an organization. Things like politics and silos, competing interests, something called what I call technomania, which is believing that technology can solve everything, and technology can solve a lot, but it can't solve everything. So one of those 3 rules is about how to declutter or simplify how you approach things and get rid of the stuff that's a clutter that's not adding any value to get right to what you should be doing that's going to be most effective.
What's the takeaway for the audience? Is there an action step? I guess it depends on who your audience is. But typically, what's a takeaway for your audience?
Yeah, a little bit. My speaking is primarily focused on, I want every audience that I speak to come away with at least something that they can take and use either in their own lives or for their businesses or both. I don't see myself necessarily as a Tony Robbins in terms of being a motivational speaker per se, as opposed to I've got a lot of stuff to impart that I've learned through my 40 some years of doing business, and just and then using the Einstein's 3 rules as a platform to kind of simplify and explain everything. So it's all about doing those kinds of things.
All right, Meredith, should I hand you the baton? It's your show.
No, I think this is terrific, and I'm a little distracted. I'm a little distracted, and I apologize because
listen. If I can chime in, my biggest gripe with speaking, and you and I talked about this last week, so many people look at TED Talks as the gold standard. It must be formulaic. It must be perfect. And no, real human interaction is what speaking is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and being able to show our humanness and our imperfections and our vulnerabilities. Yeah.
Perfection is boring.
Convention is boring, right? As Einstein pointed out to us.
Well, I said perfection is boring, but what do I know about perfection? I've only been there for half.
That's another weakness in businesses. I call it perfection obsession. That is believing that we should strive for perfection, and that's a noble goal. But guess what? When you try to strive for perfection, that often can get in the way of getting the job done.
It's so true.
Don't be so focused on, paralysis through analysis would be another euphemism for that. So think about, at the end of the day, it's all about action. In fact, one of the things that Einstein said that I think is a brilliant comment on life in general. There are two things that will describe what happens in your life: something you did do or something you didn't do. That's it. So at the end of the day, it's either what you did do or didn't do that's going to define what happens in your life. And if you want to have control over your life, I would advocate you want to focus on the things that you do or you did do.
Yeah. Another great saying about that is, don't strive for perfection, strive for connection.
That's another one. Yes, right. Another favorite quote of mine, it's actually from the wall of the high school where I grew up in a little small town here in Northern Illinois. It was a quote from Grantland Rice, who was a fairly well-known sports writer in the middle 20th century. And he was a very good writer as much as he was a sports reporter. And this saying on the wall of the gym said that when the one great scorer comes to write next to your name, he marks not that you won or lost, but how you played the game. So
that's where it comes from.
And
it rhymes. I didn't know that it rhymed, but I tell you, sports reporters were great writers once upon a time.
Yeah, he was probably the best. He was probably the best.
Yeah, that was my childhood ambition back when my whole life revolved around sports and television. But I've since moved on.
So
go
ahead.
I was saying, where about in Illinois? I'm taking it. Is it Woodstock by chance?
No. I'm south of Woodstock. I'm west of Chicago, about 45 or 50 miles. I'm kind of out in farm country, about halfway to Iowa.
I rode my bike there once, through there for the MS 150.
Oh, okay.
Area. Yes. Okay. I want to back up a little bit though.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about going against conventional wisdom a little bit. So my curiosity goes towards, okay, so if there's conventional wisdom, then there's also trying to find your unique voice. So let's talk a little bit about that piece, because what I'm hearing you say, Mike, when you say formulaic, TED Talks, they all start to sound the same. What is it then that we can do, especially in the age of AI, where you can tell I can start telling, I don't know if you two can, but
yes,
that when things start to sound homogenized,
yep.
How is it, from the two of you, what would you say to our listeners and those who are watching right now? What is it that they can do to start cultivating their own unique voice and to bring out their remarkable beings, if you will? And before you answer that question, Arnie is in the room too. And I just want to say, Arnie, if you want to leave here and then copy and paste that link I gave you, you should be able to find us on the LinkedIn page and be able to watch without the echo. And I'm sorry for the confusion. Okay. So hopefully
You're saying genuine voice without sounding homogenized or too refined.
Yeah, what's your uniqueness? Like what makes you so brilliantly you? And sometimes that's hard for people to figure out. So what would your advice be?
Here's where I start. First off, you've got to let a little bit of your frustration out. And that's when the real you comes out. Like right now, Meredith, the people who see you when you do your corporate training, they don't get what we're getting now. So here's how I get my frustrations out. Now, I mean, take it out of the audience. Here's number one question. What do you know that you wish that everybody knew? And it's something, why doesn't, I mean, I come from the fitness world. There's so many things people think they know. You just want to, why don't you get it? If that's the thing you wish that everybody knew, and how did you discover it? Start with that story. The way you tell that story is going to be a whole lot better than organizational management. Should we have cubicles or open floor plan? Because that is a homogenized topic, something that only you can tell. Number one, what do you know that you wish everybody knew? And another thing I go from is misconceptions. Tell me one misconception you had about what you do, and how did you learn it? And once you tell them, you come forward, so I used to believe this, then I learned the truth, and this is how I learned it. They're getting to see the real you. They get to see some vulnerability, so you're down to their level, even if you're physically standing higher. And now they're more vulnerable to open up and acknowledge, well, I don't know everything either. That's how when you show your vulnerabilities that way, you show the real you. And you do it in a way that you're not. So many times these speakers just empty out. I mean, they use that stage as a psychiatrist's couch in every trauma in their lives, as if nobody's ever been traumatized. All their emotional baggage. Here you go, audience. I'm so genuine. Yeah, I'm genuinely ready to leave now. That's where you get a good balance there. Show your vulnerability by what you wish everybody knew, what you thought you knew.
And not having it be your therapy session.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I love that. Mark, what about you?
Well, I agree with pretty much everything Mike said. From my perspective, it's about what can I share, something that I know that I can impart or leave to the world, based upon my experiences and my life story. And I completely agree. And the type of tidbits and ideas that I offer when I do speaking on any subject, especially the Einstein subject, is I want the audience to come away with at least one thing that either reinforces something that they kind of knew is good to know, and maybe they've been reminded of it, or I give them an aha moment, like, yeah. And I try to do that with stuff that at the end of the day, it's kind of common sense stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm not to make a pun, but it's not rocket science. So much of what we do is common sense. And sometimes because we get so wrapped up and life gets so complex, we forget about coming back to the simple truth that it's the simple truths that matter, and common sense is what should drive more of the world than it does now, because other things get in the way.
Yeah. I think, well, we need reminders, because we get tunnel vision after a while. And so sometimes those reminders are simple, common sense things.
Just my goal is just to trigger somebody to sit back and say, yeah, that's right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm going to add one more thing to this about finding what makes you unique. I feel too, it's saying the things that most people are afraid to say. To say the things that other people are probably thinking but not saying.
Yeah, so. I had a this is a personal story very quickly, that it had a lot of power for me, and when I've used it in the past, people would agree, wow, that makes sense, and it's an important point. My oldest daughter was born 3 months premature. She was in the hospital for 93 days, came home for a month, and went back for another 27 days. And when she was 6 weeks old, she had to have life-saving surgery for something called necrotizing enterocolitis, which is a variable disease that hits preemies and it can kill a baby overnight. And my first wife, and at the time, were scared out of our minds.
Yeah.
And I remember going into the hospital, Loyola University Medical Center in Maywood, Illinois, where she was in the NICU. And the morning of the surgery, we went in at 5 o'clock in the morning. We're up and we're in there. And the anesthesiologist came in to talk to us. And I had talked to the surgeon prior to that. And I asked him to just do his very good job, best job he could. And the anesthesiologist came in and kind of explained what was going to happen. And he looked at both of us and he said, "Do you have any questions?" And we both kind of looked at each other. I think we were just scared and half awake and everything else. And he looked at us and he because we were pausing, he looked at us and he said, "The only dumb question is the one you never ask." So that hit home for me at that point in time. And I've always remembered that point. And when in doubt, ask questions. When in doubt, give your audience something to think about, something that they can do a thought experiment on, like Einstein did. Because I advocate we can all do the same kind of thinking process that Einstein did. We don't have to be a genius necessarily at his level or like he was, but we certainly have the capability to use these 3 rules and to think about things in our heads and work things around and come up and see things that we might not see otherwise in our mind's eye.
No, thank you for sharing that story with us. Yeah, Mark, and it's so true. Would you, for our audience right now, just share what those 3 rules are again that you speak on?
Yeah, the first rule is out of clutter, find simplicity. From discord, find harmony. And understand that opportunity always exists in difficulty.
Beautiful.
And so my topic when I speak on those 3, the name of the talk is Business Improvement Einstein's Way. Mm-hmm. So I go through those 3 rules and I talk about practical, simple things that any business can and should do to apply those rules. And you're right, Mike. It's not about, hey, change your organizational structure and get down in the minutia and the weeds like that. It's more along the lines of common sense and just operational and people interaction stuff that you can apply to in your own life personally. It doesn't have to be in an organizational or a business environment.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So clear the clutter, get the harmony, which is the opposite of discord. And then finally, always understand and look for opportunity that exists in difficulty. And the best way to understand that there's opportunity that exists there, I contend that where there's risk involved, there's opportunity. Because risk is an indicator that opportunity exists.
Ah, that's so beautiful. Yeah. I hope you have that written down somewhere so you can see your own words like reflected back at you every day.
Well, I've done this talk so many times, I kind of conceive them in my mind. I put them in my mind's eye like Einstein.
I love it. I love it. Because sometimes we have to remind ourselves of the things that we tell other people to do for ourselves.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, very much so. I want to really quickly thank the people who are watching right now. I see Tina and Lisa. Thank you so much. Arnie, I hope you made it to watch us from one room in the virtual universe to another room. We have our special guest, Mike, here, who also is a speaker coach.
Thank you. Trick or treat.
which is an unexpected, beautiful gift. And then we have Mark James here, who is with Performance Advisors Group and is also a member of Confidently Speaking, which is our improv for speakers group coaching program that I host every Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern time. And it's developed for really anybody who wants to build their speaker muscle and be a part of a really fun, engaging, uplifting, supportive group of human beings who are all entrepreneurs and business owners.
I'll say, Meredith, for those of you who are listening, I'm going to plug Meredith here in that when you see the enthusiasm and the smile on her face here, I'll tell you, it's very infectious when you meet with her weekly when we do those sessions. And as a coach, she's just fabulous. So, and if you're a friend of Meredith, Mike, you're a friend of mine. So I have no doubt you have the same approach to things. And I want to thank Lisa and Arnie in particular. I know that they're here today. They're dear friends and colleagues of mine. So I appreciate them being here as well as everybody else.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And so, Mike, you're going to have to pop in and have some fun with us one of these days.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Let's talk it. This is a pretty busy week. This weekend, I'm speaking at the Turkish Fitness Federation, and I'm going to have a Turkish interpreter, and it's going to be wild. That's the grand finale for the week.
Well,
this is an opportunity to practice. 2 podcasts and 2 speaking appearances aside from this one. So I think if I get another chance to just do it.
I think that's fantastic. Well, this is what I am gonna invite in. Are you ready for it, Mike? I'm going to invite in that you write a post or a blog post or something about speaking with an interpreter, because that is a skill set in itself. And I think a lot of people would learn quite a bit from your wisdom there.
That's really cool. I will definitely reflect on that. It's going to be a wild Saturday.
I bet. Mark, have you ever spoken with an interpreter in the past?
I have not. I have attended meetings that were in other languages where I was not the presenter. And it's kind of fun when you don't really know the language to be looking at PowerPoint slides that are all, for instance, in French.
Yeah.
So you quickly go through what you learn and what you remember about the Romantic languages, and so much of English comes from them. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of divine. But no, I have not used an interpreter as of yet. That day will come.
Well, I haven't either, but one of our other Confidently Speaking members, Gene Petrino, has.
Yeah, I know he has. Yep.
Yeah, we did a Instagram live last week and talked a little bit about that. And it was kind of cool to hear what he learned from that experience and what he would adjust as a speaker for next time, because that was his first time as well. So, Mike, I look forward to hearing about your experience, and congratulations on all those speaking engagements. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So before we say goodbye, this has been a awesome experiment in how to adapt.
Party crashers, I love it. I saw this thing. Where are you taking me? Where are you taking me?
What's happening? I love it.
Meredith, when you go live, don't forget to kick me out of here.
So just for the people who are watching right now, what happened at the very beginning of this LinkedIn Live with Mark and myself, because I do these challenges for Confidently Speaking to get people speaking on different platforms, is all of a sudden our audience started to pop up here on Restream. And I'm sitting there because when you pop up on Restream, there's like a little gray box. So you kind of can see who the person is and kind of not. And I'm like looking and I'm like, oh, that's Mike. What's he doing here?
He got the VIP passes.
So I let Mike on stage with us. I said, okay, Mark, are you ready to pivot and improvise? And of course, Mark's awesome and said yes. And so here we are. And so we enjoyed having you as our mysterious Halloween-esque pop-up guest. And for Lisa and Arnie, who popped in here too, thank you so much for your patience. And thank you for joining us on the LinkedIn platform. Sorry for the confusion. These things happen. See, anything can happen as a speaker. That's why you all need improv.
You played it well, Meredith. You did it with a smile, with grace. So you get a gold star.
Well, thank you. And so do you, Mark. And so do you, Mike. Thanks for yes-anding, popping up on stage with us. And I hope that both of you have a spectacular time tomorrow.
You as well.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Now I have to figure out how to